class. Should be okay. Sorry about a little bit of light on the board. So today we're looking at phrasal verbs again. This is a vocabulary class. It's not a grammar class, but I will be doing a lot more grammar classes very soon. So I'm taking today's vocabulary from the press, from the disgusting, awful, filthy media. And I want to make it clear that these phrasal verbs and idioms that I'm taking from these articles, you can learn more about these phrasal verbs with this book. This is my book, Visual Phrasal Verbs. You can buy this book on Amazon for £20 for a black and white copy, or you can buy it from me as a PDF. I mean, you buy the paperback from Amazon, and you can buy it from me as a PDF. If you send me an email, I'd better write my email address up here, hadn't I? So you can send an email to sethpecksniff@hotmail.com or sethpecksniff99@gmail.com. Yeah, it's that. Seth Pecksniff, he's a character from a Charles Dickens novel, 99@gmail.com. But I will put some links under the video where you can buy my books as well, paperbacks and PDFs. Now, I took all of these phrasal verbs from 2 articles in the press, not from hundreds, but just from 2 articles. And I want you to really look out for these phrasal verbs and the idioms because they're everywhere in English. And you probably already use different words instead of these phrasal verbs, Latin words, words based on Latin roots, and they're not perhaps the best words to use when you're talking to English people. Phrasal verbs are the ones which we learn from childhood, so really these are the real English expressions, and the Latin words, well, kids won't know them and they won't sound very English. So let's go through some of these expressions. The first one isn't a phrasal verb, it's just to flee in droves from. Now, if you flee in droves from something, it means you flee in great numbers from something. So to flee means to run away. Let me make that clear. It's quite an old word for run away. But this means to run away from something in great numbers. In droves means in swarms, in huge numbers, in huge crowds. So to flee in droves from, to flee in great numbers from something. Okay? So if, I don't know, perhaps lots of refugees are leaving a country because there's a civil war going on, you could say that the refugees are fleeing in droves from the civil war. Who can blame them? Okay, a pop-up, you should all know this, I think. On computers, you get those annoying ads that pop up when you go onto a new website. Very often, newspapers nowadays have some kind of pop-up telling you to subscribe to try to send them some money because they don't have many readers, probably because it's complete shit. So yeah, they try to use these pop-ups to get you to send them some money, subscribe to their crap newspaper. Okay, so you know what a pop-up is. It's something that just suddenly appears on the screen. It could be an advert, it could be something telling you to sign up, something like that. In the wake of is a very common phrase in the newspapers. It really is. I keep seeing it all the time. And all it means is in the aftermath of something. So in the article that I was reading, I think it said in the wake of the Capitol Hill riots, those riots that happened in America a week ago or a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about in the wake of those riots, new policy will be being made, yeah, by the Senate. Now, all this means is in the aftermath, as a result of these riots. But the wake of something is the aftermath of something. I want to remind you all that a wake is a name for something that when somebody dies, there is a wake after they die. And the wake is it's kind of like a celebration, but I don't want to call it that because somebody's died. But it's after the funeral, you come together, the family comes together to talk about the dead person and to say how much they loved him. And very often there's food, there's drink at a wake. And so it's kind of like a little party. But notice that the wake is after death. Yeah, and so the wake is the aftermath of something. So you do see this one a lot, in the wake of something. And there's a second phrase or idiom with wake, and it's leave something in your wake. Now here, wake is very similar to tracks. You leave something in your tracks. Now, the expression I saw was to leave chaos in your wake. So here it means that you left chaos behind when you went somewhere. So if you say that the troops, the soldiers, they were laying siege to the city for several days, and eventually they got in and they left chaos in their wake. They left chaos behind them. That's what it means here. They left chaos behind them. So be aware that wake is not just wake up, it's also aftermath. And here, I think it's similar to aftermath, to leave chaos in your aftermath, leave chaos behind you in your tracks. Okay, to rise up means to rebel. So a lot of people around the world are tired of being told when and where they can breathe fresh air, when and where they can go out into the sunshine, and also how many friends they can have and things like that. And so a lot of people are rising up against this fascism, let's be honest. A lot of people are rising up against it, and we can see uprisings in various countries. And I'd like to say that I support these uprisings, certainly, because what we're entering is a period where we're not allowed to do what we want to do. We're not allowed to go outside, we're not allowed to associate, to socialise with people. And somebody's trying to give everybody the impression that it's unhealthy, that we get sicker when we have lots of friends. I think that this is a very sad and pathetic position and theory and idea to spread around the place, and it's not going to do children any good. We're not helping the next generation whatsoever. We're harming them, and so we really ought to stop this. Okay, so there is a counter-narrative is rising up. This was a sentence where I found this, to rise up. Now, rise up can mean rebel against, but it can also mean just appear, become known, become apparent. And I think that's how it was meant here in this article. They said a counter-narrative is rising up. A counter-narrative is appearing, is just beginning to be noticed in that sense. Okay, so we can also come under attack, come under fire, come under scrutiny. Now, these phrasal verbs, they are in this book. Oh, whoopsie daisy, I'm running out of power. I'm going to have to go faster. So these phrasal verbs are in this book. To come under collocates well with these three nouns, and you can come under criticism as well. And I wanted to remind you, you also come in for criticism. Look out for come under attack, come under fire, come under scrutiny. They do appear in a lot of media articles. Okay, so we can remember the phrasal verb break out. Yeah, it's certainly in the book, this one. Please buy the book if you want more examples and exercises. Some people say I didn't give any examples in that lesson. Well, I give loads of examples in the book, and I think I give thousands of examples. So yeah, protests break out, fire breaks out, violence breaks out, riots break out, and all of these things are breaking out very often at the moment because people are very angry. There's a lot of anger on the streets out there, and so anger is breaking out, violence is breaking out. I don't know about disease breaking out. I haven't noticed that personally, but I have noticed fire breaking out, conflict breaking out, violence breaking out, and protest breaking out. All of those things are certainly breaking out at the moment, and I think only the most gullible of people would believe that we're in the middle of some kind of pandemic. I'm sorry. Okay, so you can also turn away from something. When you turn away from something, you turn your back on something, and this is very often used metaphorically. Yeah, if you turn away from something, you no longer pay attention to it. Now, I think this was from the financial article that I was reading, and it was talking about cryptocurrency. I don't know if you're a fan of cryptocurrency. Personally, I am. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, and if you want to pay for lessons in Bitcoin, I can certainly offer you a discount. Now, it was saying that a lot of people were turning away from traditional currencies, this is like me, and turning to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of individuals are turning away from government money and turning to decentralized money that doesn't have a central bank. And so it gives you more control over your funds, in my opinion. Okay, now a lot of, in this text it was talking about people going to the airport to go on holiday, because people still would like to go on holiday. But our leaders, the people in charge, have told us that if you try to go on holiday, then you will be turned back at the airport, because you are not allowed to go on holiday. Not at the moment. You're not allowed to have friends. You're not allowed to go on holiday, and you're not even allowed to go outside when and where you want. And so they were threatening us. They were saying, if you dare try to go on holiday, you will be turned back at the airport, and you might even be fined by the police, because these are the new restrictions and regulations that we're living under at the moment. Okay, so it was talking about people that wanted to go on holiday, like me and like everybody else in this country who is absolutely sick of all of this crap. And it was calling us would-be passengers. Now, this would-be is an excellent adjective. I know it doesn't look like an adjective. I know it looks like a verb and then a verb, but it's an adjective. And a would-be passenger is somebody who would be travelling if they weren't banned from travelling, you know, if they weren't prohibited from travelling. And so I am a would-be traveller. I would be travelling if it weren't for these new government regulations that I find absolutely disgusting and ridiculous. And so, yeah, I'm a would-be passenger. But you can use this would-be with anything, any type of person that would be that type of person if something else were the case. So you might be planning to open a shop, and you haven't opened it yet. So when you're talking about customers, you're talking about people that would be visiting the shop if you had already opened it. And so you might be talking to your business partner and saying, I think, you know, our would-be customers would like a nice 19th century decoration or something like this. Yeah, you might be talking about the decor of the restaurant. And you'd be talking about would-be customers if it's not ready yet and you don't have any customers yet. There would be customers. But yeah, the article was talking about would-be travellers or would-be passengers, and so it was talking about people that would be using the airport if the government hadn't made travel only for the super rich and not for the rest of us plebs. Okay, so in breach of regulations, in breach of laws, in breach of rules, this just means in violation of, and you do see it in the papers sometimes. So a breach is a violation, and if you're in breach of the law, you're in violation of the law. Okay, so over here we've got some more phrasal verbs now, some good ones, and yet again, I know I always say this, but they are in the book, and I only say it because I didn't write this for nothing. It actually took me months, and of course, you know, because it took me so many months to write, I'd like you to buy it, especially as I get a lot of people asking, do you have any information on this? Do you have any information on that? Well, I've got a book, try there. So to lash out at is to criticise. So in this lesson, you might say I'm lashing out at the government for their, in my opinion, fascist policies, yeah, of forcing people not to go outside, forcing people not to have fresh air, forcing people not to have friends. So I'm lashing out at this inhuman policy. And in the article that I read, it spoke about, well, they were lashing out at social media influences. The newspapers were trying to tell us that we should feel angry that some people are still going on holiday. And these people that are still going on holiday, they are social media influencers. And these people are disgusting, they're terrible, they're awful, because they're still going on holiday. And so that's what the media does. They try to make you angry, and they try to make you blame certain people for your own unhappiness. But of course, the social media influencers, and I suppose I'm one of them, are not responsible for your unhappiness, okay? So to lash out at is to criticise, and to hit out at is to criticise as well. I always recommend that you learn these phrasal verbs in groups, in clusters. And when I hear lash out at, I immediately think of hit out at, and it's because these two verbs are in the same cluster in this book. And so I try to put them in clusters to make them easier to remember, to make them easier to memorise. And so if you're looking to memorise phrasal verbs, please get this book. So to single somebody or something out for something. Very common phrasal verb, certainly in the book. When you single somebody out, it means you pay particular attention to them. You usually do this in a speech or something. You say, I would like to single out my nephew for all the help he has given me in organising this wonderful occasion. Yeah, so when you single somebody out, you usually do it for criticism or for praise. It could be for good reasons or it could be for bad reasons, but it means you pick that person out of a large group and say that one is special because. Special maybe for a good reason or special maybe for a bad reason. It could be either, it really could. So you can single somebody out for praise, for criticism, for special treatment. And it means you take that one person out of a big group for special reasons. Okay, to break up the day. This was an interesting expression because this was certainly still about lockdown, this article. And it was talking about, we're going to put anybody who wants to come to England, we're going to put them in prison for a week before they're allowed in our country. And we're going to call this prison Quarantine Hotel, to make it sound like it, I suppose a little bit like a holiday, a quarantine hotel. And these would-be holidaymakers will they'll land in Heathrow or in Gatwick, and then they'll be taken to this prison that's called a quarantine hotel, and they won't be allowed outside. They'll have less rights than prisoners because they won't be allowed outside for any kind of physical exercise or fresh air or sunshine. They will have to stay in the room for one whole week, and the newspaper realises that this is very bad for mental health, putting people into solitary confinement if they want to come to England. And it's really bad for mental health, and so they were suggesting ways that you might be able to stay sane while you're locked up. And so they said to break up the day. Now what they mean is to make the day more interesting, to make the day less boring, less soul-destroying, and less like a prison. What you should do to break up the day is start some new hobbies. You should try to pick up a new language, yeah? Don't try and think of it as prison. Think of it as a language course. To break up the day in this quarantine hotel, you could pick up a new language. Why not, yeah? While you're in prison, you could pick up a new language. You could try out a new hobby. I don't know, maybe learn to juggle, something like that. And you could also catch up on life admin. So I'm sure a lot of you have got lots of things that you need to be doing on your computer, on your phone, lots of little tasks, lots of things that need to be done that you don't often get free time to do. Well, you can do that while you're in prison in the UK. Yeah, you can catch up on your life admin. So it's not all bad. Don't think of it as a prison. Don't be pessimistic about everything. Think of it in a light-hearted way. Okay, and just try and pick up a new language, learn a little bit of English, that kind of thing, and it won't seem so bad, this prison. Okay, to set ground rules means to lay down ground rules. We had this with another phrasal verb, to lay down the law, to lay down ground rules. And I want to make it clear that ground rules are the basic rules, the main rules by which anything operates. And so, I don't know, you might have a new relationship with someone and they might be one of those people that likes to control everything, and they might say, before we start a relationship, let's lay down a few ground rules, meaning let's work out exactly what rules we need to follow for this relationship to work. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be about relationships. Maybe your parents maybe you ask your parents, you're a young kid, and you ask your parents to stay out a little bit later. And they say, sure, you can stay out until 10:30 on these conditions. Let's lay down some ground rules, some rules for if you are allowed out later. Okay, so you might say something like that. Let's set some ground rules if you're going to be allowed out till 10:30. For example, I don't know, you have to take your phone with you and you have to answer when I call you at 10 o'clock. These are the ground rules, okay? And lastly, to print something out, nice easy one. Let's finish on a nice easy one. To print something out means to print. Yeah, it really does. And just when you print it out, it actually comes out of the machine and you've got a printout. And you could even use it as a noun. You can say, here's a printout of the test. Here's a printout of the exam. Here's a printout of something. Okay? So I hope you've all enjoyed the class today. I hope that this helps you to memorize some of these idioms and phrasal verbs. And I hope that you'll start using them more and more and more in your speech, because it will help you memorize things. You know, speaking the language is the best way to memorize any new vocabulary. And if you're interested in this Phrasal Verbs book, I will put the link where you send some money to buy this book under the video. But you don't have to do it that way. You can send me an email if you can read that rubbish in the corner. Yes, it says Seth, S-E-T-H, Pecksniff, P-E-C-K-S-N-I-F-F, 99, the number, at gmail.com. And certainly you can send me an email and I can send you a link for where you can buy this book. But you can buy it on Amazon. If you want the paperback, have a look on Amazon for Visual Phrasal Verbs. You will find it, and it's £20 for the paperback. And of course, I have got another grammar book as well. It's selling really well, so thanks guys. I do appreciate all the support. I actually think I'll be writing a third book now because the first two books are still selling very well. So I do appreciate all your support, and I do appreciate all of the kind words that you put under the video and things like that. I'm sorry if I get in a mood sometimes. You've probably noticed I am a little bit moody. Okay, so thanks for watching this class. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all soon.